Good morning and welcome to the Vincent Community Board meeting for the 8th of June 2026. A big welcome to, we've got Saskia filling in for Julie today, so welcome. Thanks for being here. And we also have a special guest sitting down the back. We've got our latest Vincent Ward Councillor, Andrew Dowling. So welcome, thanks for coming along. We've also got one person with the public today. So we're going to get straight into that, and I'd like to welcome Gray on behalf of Keith Alexander and Clyde Beautiful. And Joe. Small person, welcome.
James, we have a presentation and you got to speak. We just need a different laptop to be able to plug in. So I just speak. We just need a different laptop to be able to run that. So Sarah's just
it's not.
You sure?
Not essential.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
I can circulate to the board following the meeting. If that would be
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for the opportunity. It's very much the last moment, wasn't it, Jaden? I think I organised it with Jaden on the streets of Wellington, weren't you? This was I was just going to show you 4 images. They're not essential to what I'm going to be speaking very briefly about. However, one is of the new projector on the, high. Then shows an area of the linger and die, and then a map showing the extent of the area which could well be developed in the future as part of Contact Energy's land and LVAMP. So that's what it's about, but it's not essential. I display it to you. I just wanted to take 5 minutes to speak very briefly about a proposal, about an opportunity. Opportunities are fleeting gifts and often and must generally be taken at the moment in order to benefit from them. And KACB just recently recognised such an opportunity and wrote to the CODC, to the Central Otago District Council, in regard to the removal of the Bailey Bridge once the shingle extraction has been completed by Contact Energy. They are within a couple of weeks of finishing on that task, I believe. And so KACB saw the opportunity there to preserve the road entrance that's been put in on a temporary basis and the little bit of roading that's associated with that. We see the opportunity to use that as part of a further development of the linger and die. That opportunity is really a sensible connection, or could be a sensible connection with the Riverside Park project, which is now nearing completion. And it could subsequently be integrated with the extension and development of the linger and die itself, which is somewhat of a shabby area at this time. So we wrote to the District Council asking if they could delay the process or their proposed removal, which they denied, unfairly, in writing, on the grounds that they had given an undertaking to the owners of the linger and die, LINS. They had undertaken to restore it once the shingle operation was completed to its original, I say, shabby state. We saw that as something a little that we could do better. We see that, and it would appear that in making that decision, council staff failed to recognise that in the Contact Energy's LVAMP, the plan which they are required, which has just been renewed. It's renewed every 5 years in conjunction with the Otago Regional Council, and KACB has been very much involved in that process. That new plan for the 2025 through to 2030 has already undertaken. Contact Energy has already undertaken to do further plantings in the Lingarandae, to plant along the riverbank where the Bailey Bridge is at the moment, and to further clear weeds and willows between the Lingarandae and the Shaky Bridge. All that's going to happen in this coming plan. So you can see that Lingarandae area is now going to receive a lot of public attention. None of the cost of that will accrue to the Central Otago District Council. It might instead, I hope, with your assistance and persuasion, it could be a positive contribution to the future enhancement and transformation of the Lingarandae area itself. And we see that as an area which could and should attract residents and visitors alike. They can gather, they can reflect, enjoy shady spaces and river views.
And access to the river too.
And access to the river, that's correct. So that's essentially what we're here to put in front of you. We're requesting your assistance to persuade the District Council to delay restoration of the Lingarandae
Its current state.
to its former chalet state, and to at least until KACB has had an opportunity to discuss that with Contact Energy and develop further plans, which we will be doing in the coming months. I think I can rest on that.
So Lynn's own the land, is that correct?
Lynn's owns the land,
Yes.
but
Contact have a right to
Responsibility over it.
some sort of easement or
The-
something, right, or something.
under the terms of their Contact Energy's resource consent, they manage that land on behalf of Lynn's.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of a discussion between,
And it's a flood area as well, I guess.
It is a
isn't
flood area, yeah.
The
Yep.
zone or something, yeah.
yes. So there's not much more. It's a very simple proposition we're putting to you, and your assistance would be greatly appreciated. Bridge to come out. How long?
I thought it was supposed to be down by the end of this month.
It's about a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of weeks away, I think. So
You're not proposing to leave.
Yeah, and you need.
Bailey Bridge will probably be required elsewhere around the country.
at the end of the road,
I'd also like to note that Blossom Festival will have an area in Lingarandae which we need to utilise every year for firing off fireworks.
It's
So
fine.
Prefer that space not to be planted out in anything.
Well, Whitestone have already done a lot of planting there already.
and more is proposed, so
Yeah.
we'll have to have a
Can
discussion.
you have that conversation with me before you go ahead, and because I'd like to come along with a bulldozer and rip it all up.
What proposal is to put a small car park off that new road they've put in, the access to the Bailey Bridge. You have a small car park off to the right-hand side. And again, some sort of barrier where the bridge is currently going. So
You still get your fireworks, Martin.
you still get your fireworks, your little car park would be ideal.
In a nutshell, what you're asking us to start to have a conversation with Lynn, so when the Bailey Bridge goes, leave the existing roading network until you guys have time to formulate a plan.
We've actually got.
Indeed,
And you're,
it's not up to us, or we're working with, trying to work with Contact Energy,
yeah,
and we want a public consultation. If we're, look, that's our end purpose, is to have a public consultation on a prepared landscape plan for the Lingarandae and further development of the road.
so you're looking at this as an opportunity for Contact to spend some of their money as part of their consent conditions.
Correct.
To upgrade that area, because
They do
you know what
have
my
a budget.
biggest concern has been with
GB Electronic Tribunal, they love the work you guys do, is that some projects tend to have a risk associated that will come back onto to council to maintain or carry on, but no, that's fine.
That's the genius of this, it's pushing it to contact.
It should, as far as I can see by the Contact Energy's consent process, it should not cost the council anything. Well, for as long as the dams keep operating.
I guess there's no guarantee there.
It's a responsibility that is renewed every 5 years under their resource consent.
And it's been, and it has been ignored for a number of years, and it wasn't for the work that these guys have done. Contact
Would slip out of it.
were. So
I'd like to say this unofficially that
A bit lax in their duties.
they haven't got anybody that
They
we
have
can
been-
talk to. With all the changes that have gone on with Contact Energy, things have slowed right down, but they've just appointed somebody who's now going to be responsible, and we'll have somebody to talk to within the next 2 or 3 weeks.
So you'd like staff to actually approach others and say, can you hold off until your work with Contact is done and a landscape plan is built up, which could incorporate that roading as it sits?
As it is.
Yep, on the town side. Yep, through the linger and die. They can certainly party up the other areas.
Are we happy to support this?
Absolutely.
Yeah, just to clarify, is that a myth or is it fact that you've undertaken some work that's come back on the council and cost the council money? Is it, that ever happened?
I don't know of.
So so is that a risk or is it, this case it's not because it's going to be contact.
The only thing
I'm not
I can
discussing.
wonder about is where the water source comes from for irrigation.
We have
But
asked Contact
don't know.
Energy to look as part of this planning
Be an
process.
irrigation plan put on there.
I think the irrigation is broken at the moment, and so we need that to be.
There's certainly been a few dead trees along there because they've disrupted it, putting in the bridge.
Our supply to run pumps and things like that.
Yeah.
Yep, okay, so I'm happy to support it.
Awesome. We will be on to that and we'll be in contact.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Be a very exciting opportunity for the community. And don't we always love something that doesn't cost us anything? All right. So now we'll move on to the confirmation of the minutes from our meeting on the 28th of April. Are you happy to move those? Carla, seconder, Jim, all in favour? Against, carried. Just a reminder that if you do have any conflicts to declare, this is your chance now for this meeting.
I've got another possible, Central Tiger Walk-to Cycling Club. On the committee. Wakatipu Cycling Club, to interact with council on traffic management plans and a few things.
Is there anyone else that needs to make an update to their list? Anything to declare for this meeting? We will just move right along then to agenda item 2642 on page 18, which is the Alexandra Districts Museum Incorporated, Our Story Community Grants Accountability Report. So we've got Rebecca Williams, we've got Andy, we've got Paula, and we've got Mary Ann. Do we have enough chairs?
We got enough. You just. And I brought it back tonight. I've got a new system.
Cheers.
My computer just in case you move it. Forget. Yes.
Ann, would you like to join? Support. And just so everybody's aware, just to save from some confusion, of having the public forum, them sitting down, coming straight back up, I thought we can discuss this, and then at the end, if you'd like to touch on your plan that you're currently looking at, that's why Mary Ann wanted to come up.
It's getting reported to council.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to give the board a quick update on that.
So thank you, everybody. And this is the accountability report for the Alexandra District Museum Incorporated Trading Essential Stories. The board provided an ADMI grant of $10,000 for costs associated with our stories exhibition and workshops. Essentially, what the board recognised is that ADMI provide much more than a museum function, that it provides events and exhibitions that are beyond what council pays for through the districtised museum grant. And so ADMI came last year and applied for, well, I think it was September, applied for about 30K, of which you granted 10. And it was to support their event and exhibition program. This report provides an update on the program that has taken place to date over the last year. We haven't finished the financial year, but it's because our then grants, they can reapply in July. And so it's to get the accountability report and done in time for that future. And the only last thing before I invite ADMI to talk to their report is that the Russell Clark exhibition is currently showing, and I was in the museum for a meeting the other day, and it is fantastic. It's well worth going and having a look at. So I'll hand over to Paula and Andy.
Now Andy told me to keep all these at home, but just in case, and no rush. These are letters while I'm doing my boring 5-minute speech of school kids. If anyone wants to see them, no. Okay.
It's red.
Okay, that's fine. Some of them are quite cute. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this morning and for your continued support of Central Stories through this $10,000 community grant. You have no idea how much it means to us. It helps so much in so many different areas. Our stories was exactly that, stories from our community, for our community. The grant gave us the flexibility to bring people together around the rich and diverse heritage of Central Otago, and I'd like to walk you through what that looked like in practice. We kicked off with the Central Otago Christmas market in November and December, 2 late nights with Santa in attendance, celebrating local artisans, local food and produce, but most importantly, Santa, children's activities, clue hunts, prizes, all the rest of it that brought families through our doors to celebrate that busy time of the year. In January, we hosted the launch of the Russell Garbutt's book on Vincent Pike, the man this board is named after, a packed evening that connected our community directly with our goldfields history, as well as supporting, as well as the fact that this was an important book launch for Central Stories. It also supported a local historian by allowing our space to be used for his book launch. And it's not just the space, it's the time and the marketing and everything else that goes into launching it. It's just not people just turning up. And so things like room hire encompass so much more than that, and encompasses everything that is done to put on that particular event. Also, in January, we held our annual volunteer appreciation night. I wish we could have them about 3 or 4 times a year, but we don't have the money. But because of this grant, we were able to do a really, really good one, probably better than normal, recognising the extraordinary people who make Central Stories possible. We enjoyed food, wine and a quiz that pitted the front of house team against the collections team, against the committee and against the DIY art gallery team. This year, front of house took trophy. We rounded the evening off by hiring Central Cinema for a movie. So it was a great night all round. That same month, we hosted a Te Papa digital imaging workshop, which was open to all of Central Otago museums, helping all of our volunteers to develop the skills to photograph and preserve our collection, including our glass plate negatives that we all have that are literally deteriorating as we speak, not to mention the VHS and cassette recordings, which we've got to digitalise as soon as possible. February brought Welcome Vanuatu exhibition, a beautiful thought-provoking display that broadened our community's connection to the Pacific heritage. It was created with our Vanuatu community in mind, the seasonal workers who come to Central Otago to pick fruit and who are often far away from home. The exhibition gave them a connection back. April was a highlighted month. We hosted Nikki Wong presenting the story of Sue Him's family, the Chinese heritage behind the artefacts in our collection. It was deeply moving and a well-attended evening, and local legend Roger Lusby packed the gallery with his 40 years below, 1 year in Antarctica 40 years ago. What was it like being in Antarctica before health and safety? Luckily, he came back. To be able to have the funds to host these community events and talks to a professional standard is profoundly appreciated, especially with Nikki Wong when she brought a film crew with her and they were filming the New Zealand on the Farm, another documentary about the politics and Chinese story. Also from late April running right through until mid-August is Clever Crustaceans, a hands-on touring exhibition from Te Papa, developed in collaboration with Niwa, which is again a local story here. Real specimens, microscopes, touchable interactives. It's been a hit with families and school groups alike, and is exactly the kind of high-quality national content that Central Stories punches well above its weight to bring to our community. And from the 1st of June through to the end of July, the accumulation of our stories project, the Russell Clark City Hotel Gold Rush Murals exhibition, 28 extraordinary panels painted in 1936 and now 90 years old, on display finally for the public to view. These panels, and all these notes on the side here, which I'm a bit confused about now, but these panels and your funding enabled us to get information panels professionally done to ensure that we can put these out the back with the art and bring them out more regularly from time to time without any further expense to Central Stories, which has been great. And it's also enabled us to publish Pauline Cartwright's children's book that she wrote, I understand, in 2012, and giving us the copyright of that we never ever got published at the time, that is a children's version of the panels. So now that has been published and that has now been given to all the local schools and community groups, as well as we'll be selling some, hopefully, to be able to make a bit of money on that too. What is pleasing, particularly to myself, is the schools' interaction with all of this. We've already had over a dozen schools and homeschool groups, even though a lot of this time has been spent on holidays over summer and bits and pieces. Homeschool groups are becoming a fast part of our curriculum as well. They've really reached out and they're coming quite consistently. And there's more bookings coming in. I've got another school group tomorrow. This is exactly why funding like yours matters so much. It allows us to extend well beyond our usual audiences and connect with our next generation of Central Otago storytellers. I'd like to leave you with one figure to put all this in perspective. Our volunteers contribute over 120 hours every single week to Central Stories, and that is not an exaggeration. We actually worked it out as 143, but we've brought it back to, for the swings and roundabouts, to 120. When you cost that out, the total value of our volunteer time now exceeds the entire annual operational income. Your grant didn't just fund a program of events, it supported a community institution that gives back many times over what it receives. Thank you.
Andy, would you like to add anything?
No, I can't answer that. That was perfectly summed up. I'll answer any questions.
I like him so much.
Did you want to give a quick
In terms of,
Perhaps, because there's meetings this week, yeah?
Is there an opportunity to be talking at all about it this afternoon across at Central Storage, or is that not?
We could see, yeah, well, I'll flick you a message, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we go to questions for this part then?
We could probably just note, Marianne, that so the council provided a grant of 10, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, $10,000 to ADMI for a 20-year visioning process. And so they're currently in the thick of that, and there are community workshops happening this week over at
Last week,
Central.
yes.
Oh, and last week.
And continuing, what's happened out of them is that people are asking that we now go out into their groups and share the same there as well. So we're happy to continue, and we're actually delaying our process slightly so that we can make sure we get as much community input as possible.
There's a report going about that more thoroughly to council. It's going to be on the council agenda for the June meeting, but I'm happy to share that, flick out the link to the agenda once it's, so that you guys can have you don't need a hunt for it. I can tell you what page it is on the council agenda, sort of thing.
Please. Because given that that's still something that's prioritised, I think it's important that we actually see that information. Like your message anyway. Any questions about this accountability report?
I mean, my question was just the breakdown of the room hire. Like, I can absolutely understand that it encompasses much more than room hire. It's just difficult to fairly assess that kind of accountability when it's an internal cost compared to other groups that would have an external cost for the amount of $3,800. So it's just whether or not, whether that's a charge that's actually incurred or whether it's internal money being moved around. And if it does, as you say, include many more things, including marketing and staff, it would be great to have it broken down that way in the accountability to avoid confusion.
Yeah, I couldn't quite understand what information you wanted from me, but we included that because we, rather than taking money from likes of Winterstellar to host an event, it was an internal thing. So I was working out how to structure that in the accountability in regards to the finances. But yeah, it is a small portion of the amount of expense, and if you count volunteer time, etc., that has been delivered for that 10K.
Normally, also because we get a very small percentage of our operational costs, extremely small, like basically my wage and two months of power. From council, the thing we often have to choose events and exhibitions that we can get an income from, and by having the Russell Clark exhibition up for 2 months and blanking that out to make sure that we can't actually hire the Henson Gallery for $1,000 is another thing that just means that our income source has been compromised by putting on these community events and exhibitions.
Some exhibitions are good revenue earners, and when you take a commission off art sales and so on. But then there's others like touring exhibitions like crustaceans. We're not going to sell bits of that, So, and the wool-on exhibition, I think we did.
We hire the
Yeah.
crustaceans exhibition.
Yeah.
So that comes with a couple
It's
of grand.
making that choice and to deliver the maximum that we could do for your investment in us.
Like the regional choir or regional orchestra, for instance, pay $300 room hire to hold an event there, which covers our my wage and all those things. But when you're doing book launches for local historians and talks like Nikki Wong and we don't charge them anything, and we produce
Absolutely no problems with what you deliver for an incredibly small budget. That is not my problem at all.
No.
My preference would be, as you did the accountability, just to not recognise those room costs as you have and instead present that as the other costs that are incurred, which are significant. So I have no problems with everything that you're doing, which I think is wonderful. Just in terms of completing that accountability, my recommendation would be shifting how that's presented. I don't
Thank
have a
you.
problem at all with what you're doing.
No, thank you for your feedback. It's appreciated.
Anyone else?
No, but I will add to that as well. You do a great job on a very slim budget, and going forward that won't change, of course, as well. The budget will continue to be slimmer and slimmer. So great job, guys.
So, yeah, so that's why it means so much to us when we do get that little bit of money that actually is tagged, so we don't have to, you know, put it into boring things. We can actually do things like Russell Clark exhibition, get Joanna, who project managed it, to actually do the hard work. So leaving me to do the school groups and all those other things I do. So it just really does.
It was a lot of bang for a buck for $10,000.
Thank you.
So well done.
Thank you. And we'll definitely make sure we break that down further next year. If we're lucky enough to get another grant like that.
Yeah. Give us the reason to do that.
Right, is somebody happy to move that the board receive that report? Jim and Tony, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, on to Jim.
No, we're talking about areas and one against the other.
We've just lost this.
Where are we up to?
We are going to move now to page 61, which is the grants budget recommendation.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. I just saw.
I know, they're my backup crew.
Oh, okay.
And
Here we
firstly,
go.
are you good for me to go? Firstly, apologies. So I just wanted to apologise that the figures in the report itself aren't quite correct, and I just wanted to correct them. So the main figure is the promotions and events grant. So it should have been adjusted for inflation. Your current financial year has been adjusted for inflation, and that figure is 51,455. Now, a recommendation is no change to that figure. That 51,455 goes in, and it will be inflation adjusted as part of when the LTP gets inflation adjusted. So it will be slightly higher than that, at whatever the inflation figure that is imposed on the budgets as a total. I also just want to speak, I should stick from my notes. I also want to speak to the one thing I would point out about the events and promotions grants is that figure, whilst there isn't a change mooted, it previously included funding for the Blossom Festival, and that no longer, it's recommended that the Blossom Festival is done district wide, and so whilst that's still in motion, you should know that the 51,455 is without potential Blossom Festival. Are you good? So then I just want to speak to the community grants figures. We've recommended a figure of $50,000, but that is purely a recommendation. I just want to give some context for it. The community grants were oversubscribed in the current financial year with applications of $77,000 received, and the board allocated $45,616. You'll recall I had to go to council with a recommendation for that, I think 7 or 8K just over your budget because you had it in reserves. And there was no second round this financial year because you'd fully allocated your funding. The last 2 financial years you were undersubscribed, and you were undersubscribed by $20,000 in each of those 2 financial years. And so 50's a bit of that just in response to last year, and grants are really hard to predict because you don't know what people are thinking about. And you're playing this, not playing, but you're trying to estimate what you don't want to try and underfund your awesome community activities that take place, like you've had Keep Alex and Clyde Beautiful. They've got something that they're keen to. They actually wanted to apply in the second round, which we didn't have. And so we said, look, you're going to have to hold that off until the next financial year. So you sort of best guessing what might take place. Now, I also said in my email that it would impact rates by 1.7%. I meant $1.71. Not-
That was cricket.
Yeah. And so a massive apology for that.
Yeah. Oh, it did. Tony rang me. Tony rang me.
I brought my calculator, and it wasn't actually until Saskia was texting me at this meeting that I realised my mistake, that I said percentage instead of dollar. So my massive apologies for that. We're using, and that the finance team wanted me to make it clear that that's a real approximate across all rating units. So it's just that increased figure divided by the amount of rating units in the Vincent Ward, which is how we've got that $1.71. So it's a quick and it's a rough guess. But yeah, I just wanted to give that context for where we've got the 50K for. It might be too high. It's a bit of a juggling act. Happy to respond to any questions.
And the opportunity to review this once we go through the next funding round.
It will be going to council.
Yeah.
Do you, Saskia, in terms of the LTP budget, it could be, this is a recommendation to council.
To recommendation council, but what I'm saying, if council agrees, then we go into a funding round. We'll get a good feeling from what sort of demand is on both those pots and whether they are sufficient or not. And we will have the opportunity to revisit it after that process. Because we don't know.
Any unallocated funds.
Roll over.
It drops into a grant reserve specific bucket, so it can't be used for anything else. But yeah, but like we did that last year.
Yeah, if it
So
accumulates.
that 7,000 was taken out of that reserve you're talking about.
But their indication will only be for first round, as you said, we're still second guessing the second
Well,
round.
exactly, and that cut off, it won't change. It won't change. No. Happy to move the recommendation.
There was $2 a rate there. wasn't it?
171.
We can live with that.
Taking some pressure off.
And given that, if you look at when the rate system changed, $82,000 was actually removed from it. So they were already, people in Vincent were already starting to pay less on that. And we're only adding $1.71, was it, back onto that. We've just seen what $10,000 can do when we're not the ones spending it, when we're giving it to the community.
For grants in general, like I'm often asked about why councils have grants, and it's to help. Councils often can fund things, a lot of things that other groups can't fund. So often it's feasibility reports, or it's consenting and building fees, or it's operational costs. And what council funding does is helps, like you've just heard from ADMI, it triggers a much greater value for your community than the dollar figure that's gone at.
But Martin, you were happy to move that? Seconder? Yep. Tony, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried.
So, sorry.
The correct amounts, can we just?
What figures what figure are you? No.
50.
So it was moved to the 51.
51,445. What figure are you promoting for community grants? No, that was the. I'm hearing they're wanting the original recommendation. It was 50.
50 and 51,445.
Yeah, that's what Martin was moving.
Yeah. Good. Just clear it.
It's up there, not what's in front of me.
And sorry, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it was all taken together.
Yeah, so
And also congratulations on your
Thank you.
role as well.
Thank you very much. And it's lovely that the chair, newly appointed chair, grew up here. She went to Dunstan High School. So she currently lives in Otamatata. So this is Otago Community Trust, different hat. So it's great that we've got those two roads outside the district, outside Dunedin Central. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and try to not have errors.
We're not recommending that rates go up 1.7%.
No,
That's a good thing. All right, we'll move on to page 64, which is the poultry and beef urban area bylaw. We've got Alex.
All the best ones, don't I?
This is an interesting one because I always just assumed that we had one of these.
Well, we did. It was in the general bylaw, and a lot of people think it's still relevant, but it has fallen out of date. So our enforcement team aren't able to enforce it, essentially, which is why I'm here in front of you today. It is really a challenge of growth issue. So it's not the biggest issue in the world, but what we have is a community that's been rural for a long time with a large amount of poultry and bees in areas that are becoming increasingly urban. So the enforcement team have asked if we can get a bylaw back in place. There are members of the community that are asking for that too, particularly in Vincent and Cromwell. And then what we all need to balance up, and the feedback I need from you all, is in that section 155 analysis. Can't put a bylaw in that isn't solving a problem, and I can't infringe people's rights for no reason. So just basically I'm needing quite general feedback if this is a direction you all want to take, so I can take that to council with the wider report. You can see it's got those three things in it really. We are putting a limit on the number of chickens and where they must be. We don't want roosters in urban areas because they have a habit of crowing at 5 a.m. I tried really hard to figure out a pathway of what to do, and in a community like ours where a small child hatches an egg and it turns out to be a boy and they just don't want to get rid of that rooster. And
How do you unintentionally get a rooster?
how do you unintentionally get a rooster?
Everyone run away. So.
That little licensing clause that's in there is the only way I've found that I can do anything about that. That leaves that open. And then quite similarly in the bees side of things, just to respond to allergies, we've just popped in some requirements to keep your hives away. And if we were to get to a situation where you're the neighbour of someone with a severe allergy, our enforcement team have the ability to say, not this hive right here. So just looking for any feedback, and if you're happy with this as a direction, and if you all feel I have threaded the needle on rights versus problem solving, about where you're comfortable.
Been complaints, Alex.
Yes, there have.
Especially about
No, perfect. All right, I think you've nailed it. No questions, but one thing is with your bees, and you've said that in their flight path, if you lift them 1.8 up, so you change their flight path. That's a technical.
It might. I don't know the answer to that, but
You're forcing them to go up.
Go up.
Silly question, but
no, it's a good question. I'm
really
looking
good
forward
question.
to looking into for you. I just don't know. So let me find out and I'll email you.
Yeah, sorry.
This allows, you're thinking of the traditional beehive, but there is those,
Viewing ones.
the smaller ones where the bees and literally the honey's been stripped
Down, yeah.
down.
Yeah, and they have a window.
Yeah,
They have viewing.
yeah, they're not
Viewing.
like a conventional beehive. They're honey producing.
You only allowed 2 of them then.
Yes, good.
Are there any potential issues in terms of the definition of urban, in terms, you're talking about the development of the area?
There are.
Yeah, so that my question was just, in terms of that.
That is exactly where the main concern and challenge with this one lies. What I have done there is use the designations within the district plan to bring it into those areas. The area where that's most likely to be pointed out was actually pointed out by your chair in relation to his life growing up in Ranfurly. And when we do get into an area like Ranfurly, some of those definitions might create problems. I'm going to talk that through with that community board and figure it out and make sure it doesn't impact on the areas we need either.
So what happens to those since the last rules came out of date and no longer enforceable? And this one coming in, what about people who have more chickens? They weren't breaking any rules.
That is where we would be using those temporary licenses. The strict answer is we could bring a bylaw and enforce that level of change, but that's not an act that this council's likely to take. We would always be issues based.
Because I did do a wee drive around of Ranfurly the other week and had a look around. Those that I knew had them. And yeah, a lot of them are right on boundary fences. A lot of them definitely have more than 6. And I was surprised I saw no roosters. So I was just thinking like, yeah, how is that going to impact? I'd imagine it'd be the same around this ward. How is that going to impact people who have already spent the money?
Be in a situation where we don't need this bylaw to extend into Ranfurly. The issues we're having are due to the growth in Cromwell and Vincent, where people with different lifestyles are moving in. So
Sorry, I was using that as an example because that's one I know. I knew where chicken coops were, but I'm envisioning that if we go out to like Ormako and those areas, we'll have very similar setups.
yes,
as
so
those communities.
in answer to your question, if there isn't a problem with there being chickens or roosters in that location, we wouldn't want the bylaw to extend there.
Okay.
We want it to be sitting where we're having that tension. So if the application of this, when we finish the discussion with the Maniatoto community and pop it over and it looks like we've banned roosters and chickens all across Omako, we've gone too far and we'll need to pull it back. It needs to be where the issues are.
Yeah, my concern is the low density residential zone inclusion in the urban area.
Yep.
And thinking about the deliberate choice that residents are making to have a semi-rural lifestyle, that would probably fall under a low density residential zone definition, but doesn't pose any problems to neighbours.
Would your preference in a low density zone, because this has been playing on my mind, what I like about this is some of those requirements that your chicken coop must not be on your boundary, for instance. I have been playing around within some of those situations. Would we allow more chickens but keep a bylaw in place?
In terms of like essentially a multiple chicken permit.
Essentially that we would not exclude low density areas, but we might go up to a dozen chickens there and a rooster might be acceptable if it's housed appropriately.
Yeah, I'd like to see that inclusion.
Opportunity, isn't it, is defining your urban areas that are encompassed and not encompassed.
Very much, and very much needing to make sure we don't go too far into this.
Yeah. Bridge. Yeah.
Great.
Any other feedback?
That looks great, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's exactly what I needed. So
Can I get somebody to move that we read that report and the contents of it noted? And Tony, all in favour? Aye, against, carried. Thank you. And we'll see you next time you've got a policy, which with the way they're going, I'd imagine that won't be too far.
dogs next time probably, otherwise the one after.
Read your report.
Those people that own dogs are exempt.
You can leave the room.
All right, so we do not have a mayor's report today. The mayor does apologise. He is caught up in another quite important meeting. So we'll move right along. So on page 73 is the chair's report. And just as I open that, of dog just to remind everybody to get their registrations paid month so you don't end up with a larger bill.
July 31st.
Was it July 31st?
Yep.
Oh, wow. I could have saved me some dollars by not doing it so quickly.
Life admin task.
All right. So over the last 6 weeks, it's been quite busy with Paula from the museum briefly just to get an idea of where they were at, and then met with Mary and Dexter to try to help her understand what they can apply for from the community boards. And I think it was quite a good conversation because it also made me realise that the policy is quite broad and it does allow groups to come here for a lot more than they could for other places, as was discussed with Rebecca before. So I think that policy is a really good one and really great thing for the community. I'd note that there's been a lot of building going on. If you look up on Napara Street, there's a bit happening there. Same with the upper end of town with Naitahu's development. So it's great to see that all of that's progressing. Riverside Park is finally moving again. So contractors are obviously in place with Port and Hogan and hopefully see that done over the next couple of months. I'm hoping before Blossom Festival. Be really good, I think, for the board and council and the community to finally have that project completed so that we can all move on to the next thing. The Manahia Valley Community Hub is also moving along quite nicely now for those that have been through there. And there's quite a bit of fundraising going on for the hockey turf at the moment. So as a hockey parent, I can say I'm really, really looking forward to my older child being able to play in Alexandra and not having to travel every week for that, especially at 6 o'clock at night on a 40 Omicron night.
Freezing cold.
Yeah. Last week, I also headed to Wellington to meet with CVEC. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the reform space. So we thought it was really important that we got together and had a discussion about that so we can start putting some information out to community boards across the country. We have decided that this is so important that we have chucked out everything else from our strategic plan and are going to be solely focusing on this for the next wee while. But there's actually quite a lot of reforms going on at the moment. There's obviously RMA reform coming through with the spatial plans are going to be quite a big one. And I was looking at that last night and think that there's a real opportunity for community boards to play a part in that when it gets down to that local level. And so yeah, I'd really encourage council to that we're here when it comes time to do that. There's also the rates cap, which I think is going to be quite a major impact on community boards. A lot of the things that we do are working with the community on local projects like Kaimana High, roof on a ice rink, and then our grants, all things that I don't believe the government is going to be contributing. So while all those other costs for other core infrastructure are going to keep rising, and I'd imagine beyond what the rates cap is, that could make it quite difficult for community boards and achieving what we're trying to achieve for the community. So I just wanted to note that one. And then, of course, there is the simplifying local government reforms that are happening, which, while we're hearing a lot about, there is still very, very little information that's actually coming out from government. We've got no idea what the backstop looks like. And we've got very little understanding of what the criteria of what they're actually wanting from the regions to submit on. We do know that there's a lot of talk from the government about localism and making sure that local decisions are still made as close to a community as possible. My view on that means that community boards, we are already doing that. So we are actually a really fundamental, important part of these reforms. If we're going to end up going from a district of not quite 10,000 square kilometres to the entirety of Otago, which is very possible the government could, then chances are we're going to be, most of the representation decision making is going to be happening way down the road in Dunedin. And so making sure that we've got strong community boards is going to be essential to that. And so my challenge to CODC and to our other partner councils that you're currently working with around reform and actually across the whole country is don't leave the community boards as an afterthought to rubber stamp an idea at the end of it. There's still a little bit of time to go between now and those submissions going into government. So talk to your community boards. We know how our communities are starting to feel around this. There's a lot of anxiousness about what comes next. So please work with us, not against us, and make sure that we're actually a part of those conversations, because we could really be like this. CODC possibly won't exist at next election or the following election after that. And it could be replaced by community boards. So I think it's really important that we're part of these conversations from the get-go, not after August or after it goes to cabinet, after the backstop's been designed. We need to be a part of those conversations now. So yeah, that's my challenge to all councils across the country. Bring us in to those conversations, and also to all community board members. Have quite a broad think about what a community board could look like, because there's no rule saying that they have to stay exactly as they currently are. And there's going to be a lot more functions that these larger councils are going to be dealing with. And so I think it's a really good opportunity for community members to get creative and actually submit some really cool ideas on that. And on that challenge, I'm going to leave it there and move that my report be received. Can I get a seconder? Thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried. So we went Jim first last time, so we'll start on this side and we'll go Carla first for the members' reports.
So I circulated the kind of summary of the conference, the Zone 5 and 6 conference in Christchurch. It was a really good opportunity to about the similar challenges that are happening in other councils across Zone 5 and 6, but it was quite overwhelming. There is a lack of support, I believe, for newly elected members, particularly in community boards, to understand the depth and breadth of expectation. And I raised that with LGNZ while there. Particularly because we have a Māori elected members group. We have a young elected members group, but we don't have a newly elected members group. And I feel that is a key gap, particularly if you're going to maintain people in local governance beyond a single term, which we know that the attrition rate in local government is pretty high. I identified 2 key workshops that I found really interesting and gave you a bit of a summary of both of those. The first one was with Chris Menny, and he was talking about engagement and just the crucial part that engagement with the community plays, and different structures that can support that kind of engagement, and gave examples about work he's been doing with local councils to increase that. Which was really, really exciting and cool to see. And then the other workshop that I found really helpful was the one around crisis communication. That was with a communications advisor, and she spoke about the fact that within a crisis, you have the ability early to control a conversation, and if you don't, we have the example that we saw with Pike River, where the communication coming out from the mine staff and coming out from sort of the governance role were at odds with one another and lost public trust really quickly. So I just sort of gave you a breakdown of that. I also attached the connected summary of the entire conference, which actually is an easy read. I know they're not often, but it's high-level overviews that has been put together based on an audio transcript of the entire 2 days. And if you don't read anything else, what might be interesting for you to check out is the council updates. So every council in attendance gave a 4-minute update about their greatest challenges and what they were anticipating in terms of rate increases. That was really powerful to understand like what was different for us compared to others. Yeah, well, some of them were, but if we look at Waitaki, their rates increase was projected at being between 17 and 52%. So that's just 2 pages in the PDF I attached to my email. And if you don't look at anything else, I'd recommend having a look at that, because it's that chance for you to see outside of our own silo and see the challenges that other councils are dealing with. If you get a chance to attend, I would really recommend it. Great chance to meet other people. There were not many community board members there. It was mainly mayors, deputy mayors, and CEs, as well as some councillors. So it was certainly an exercise in humility, but it is a good chance to develop your skill set. So, like I say, have a look at the summary, because it's one of the best ones that I've seen in terms of not digging into unnecessary detail. Really skimmable. And gives you the chance to look at the session on rates capping, some of the sessions that came through from the different MPs from different parties in terms of how they see local government, which is going to be interesting in terms of making election decisions. So a really readable report. The only other thing, Sarah, to add would be that Jim and I have been hard at work since the last meeting in terms of the community engagement potential. We've chosen, with advice from the community, to put a hold on that until August. We did have sessions booked in for next week. But given the sentiment in the community regarding amalgamation, we didn't feel that it was the right time to engage in a conversation that may or may not end up being utilised for other kinds of discussions. And we're also eager to explore the potential of digital opportunities for collaboration and feedback back to us as a group. So that's where we've.
Question. So, when you talk about the new members, the expectations on, are you looking up the food chain, down the food chain, or both for expectations?
Both, actually, yeah.
There's opportunity on both areas, isn't there?
Yeah, I really do strongly believe so. Like, I know here I've got people that I know in the community that have served a single term on a community board and have departed with a hell no, I would never do so again. And highly skilled, deeply connected people whose experience was not positive. And I have to say I'm in the same boat currently. And I think that the amount of support compared to the expectations are at a massive odd with one another. And just some of the expectations in terms of, you should have read or you should be doing in your own time, given I work 2 other jobs, is unrealistic. And so I'd really like to see our council, particularly, leading the way in how newly elected members are supported in order to maintain their involvement beyond a single term. So I'd like to see it nationally through LGNZ, but I'd also like to see that with what we're doing.
That is a very good point, because as somebody that had support from and Yem, I didn't have that same experience because I had two quite large networks supporting me and guiding me through that first 3 years. And so it's a really, really valid point to be made and something that I think LGNZ needs to have a look at.
My second question was, our outreach initiative, I thought was your initiative and really good. And I respect your decision to put it on hold a little bit. Am I right in saying the council, the CODC just got voted the best of councils for community engagement? I saw something.
We had a Te Korowa report where that was fairly well rated.
Yeah.
So are you talking about the Te Korowa report?
I don't know what the name of the report was, and I'm thinking if that's the best of New Zealand.
I don't think we were.
Need we do it?
No, I don't think that's correct.
You got to go for it though somewhere, for sure.
In the Te Korowa report, that did score high, but engagement with the community was only one aspect of the wedge. So it was things like iwi partnerships and all that played into that. And I must say, when we looked across all the spectrum, while we stood pretty well, it wasn't the highest in that area for the community engagement.
I think Paula and Louise got their hat tipped to saying good job, kind of. So it was a formal, something more formal. Anyway, I'm just saying the bar can't be very high across the country.
Just in terms of how we can be better across the kinds of engagement that council are doing, and be able to support those. And so as a result, Deb's now sharing the regular snapshots that she shares with community groups with us, and also more aware of the opportunities to reach out to us to be involved in some of the work that's taking place.
As well, isn't it?
So even though you're not doing it, you postponed it, I think the groundwork you've been laying, what you've been talking about is going to be very significant.
I hope so. It is just shelving at the moment. Yeah, postpone. You mentioned that the summary. Did you send something out to us?
Yeah, I did last night.
Oh, okay.
Read it out to you, but
Send anything on Sunday night for me.
well, I just thought rather than me spending a lot of time giving you a summary, it means you can have a look at it at your leisure.
Okay,
and then I've also attached the summary of the entire conference.
Cool. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Martin.
Hearings, the panel has been busiest in the 15 years I've been involved in, and we recently just had a new subdivision for a proposed retirement village, another one.
Is it the Glenlaw one? What's this? Who is that?
With Collier and
Yeah.
and we haven't made any decisions as yet, so that's as far as I want to talk about. I'm just saying that just reflects on what's going on around the growth around the area is incredible. I would urge the chair and board members to facilitate a meeting with senior exec and her worship to further discuss our roles as far as amalgamation is concerned, and I would urge staff to facilitate that priority. I think this board, from our conversations earlier today, has got some issues that need to be resolved quickly, and we want to have some say in this process. And the feeling that we'll end up rubber stamping things, I share, and I share my concerns. This whole amalgamation has been foisted upon us. I don't think any of us at council wanted this to happen in the manner it's happened. And the 3 months is going to be long enough for us to effectively hear from our publics and garner what their thinking is. And the misinformation which has been put out at present is of great concern, and it's only going to get worse. So I think especially for the newer members who deserve the opportunity to have that conversation with senior management and the exec and team. To see what ACB are doing as far as Lincoln and I is concerned. It's been something I've been close to for a number of years. And hopefully that support will going forward, we'll actually get a result as long as they don't touch my fireworks display area. My relationship with the museum, museum's going through a challenging time with the work being forward now as far as the short-term and long-term plan. Staff there do a fantastic job with a very limited resource. My role has been on voting on that board. I have observer status and I've used my role to facilitate meetings with council staff to facilitate the leasing opportunities for that space, which was held by the information centre, and that's gone out. There has been some 3 expressions of interest, and there will be a report, David, coming back to us at the next meeting. Okay. Generally speaking, it's a good time to be involved in local government. It's going to be a contentious time to be involved in local government. But I think as a board, we have some opportunities to fight the good fight on behalf of our ratepayers, and we just need the opportunity so we can get together collectively to decide a direction we want to take ourselves in. And giving 15 minutes before meetings is not, so we need to set some time aside to do that.
Just starting to.
It's a good time for us to show some leadership in this.
I agree. And we need to have an opinion on it. We need to voice an opinion on behalf of our residents, because general feeling that I'm getting out there is that it's going to happen whether we like it or not. And that we need to start pushing back. But we need to have that conversation with Your Worship and senior staff to understand the position that council is currently in, because it was only last Wednesday that we actually started formulating a top policy about it. So it's easy enough to jump up and down, but it's line a few ducks up before we start doing that.
Yeah, we were still wrapping up. We're going to try to get that organised as soon as possible. Everybody in a room. Thank you, Martin. Tony.
Okay, couple of things. I think you've just tied in crisis management with what Mark's about and this information. And that's the kind of where we're sitting, I think. So, yeah, good. And we are going to be pushing against the headwind. The government don't know what their agenda is, but it won't be favourable for small communities, I'm sure. I've just had a couple of things probably around sports clubs mainly. You might have heard Clyde Rugby Club's trying to get a team. The kind of telling thing around that is the community support. Well, they've got a big tailwind. The community support around the village is massive, huge, and it will be good for the community. We've got a couple of infrastructure challenges that I'm working with the council on. So we'll see where that goes.
It's around the camp.
It's
around the camp, isn't it?
Confirm or deny. I just come back to probably what you guys talked. I had a crack. I thought I'd be able to exercise some training on co-pilot around the information around this local government. There's just a vacuum on it, and you ask a few questions, and the more you ask, the less you know, kind of almost,
because there's nothing out there.
Hoping that's the case rather than my very inept IT skills. I'm so glad.
But there is very little information either coming out of Wellington or coming out of New Zealand. It's just because it's so early in the process. And
I see LGNZ have already identified one of their focuses is going to be on Plan B. So everyone's in the same boat.
In reality, we don't. Plan B hasn't even I don't
There's
think
so
it
much
started.
misinformation being propagated across this information.
I think the only real information that's come out in the last week is that if you miss out on being in the head start, then you just go back to the backstop. And aside from that,
Yeah, but backstop. Don't know what the backstop is.
yeah, we don't know what the backstop is. So I think the community boards around here, this doesn't just end if council doesn't get accepted into the head start. But this phase will only be the beginning
Starts again.
of the advocating.
Yeah, I think rather than us working against them, it's actually just saying, please take us with you.
Yeah.
Please take us with you on it.
You know, if there's one message which needs to get further up the food chain, is that what is the value of us as the VCB? And, you know, are we, we're here to be listened to, but are we going to be listened to?
Well, I agree entirely. Look, I'm just taking it. Yeah, I said. Any more? Sorry, I'll just reiterate. My turn. Yeah. I'll just reiterate what Pala said. I'm not going to go over the same thing. Her and I have been involved in some meetings with regards to community engagement. My sort of take on that is that it's great, and we still want to do that, maybe in a different form, on the digital form. That's correct. But, you know, I was the one maybe sort of questioned it at some stage and said, you know, should we shelve this? And really my focus has gone from like we were trying to engage the community, and now I'm really looking at trying to protect that community voice, you know, really. And that's where I think, oh God, this is a big thing. We need to focus more on to it. So that's my sort of and that. Other than that, like with the collaborative. I will share a story though. I did have to. I've had a huge involvement with the rugby club, the local Dunstan Rugby Club, and 2 weeks ago they rang me up, said they didn't have a referee for the under-14 game, and I'm an associate referee, so I held my hand up to referee that game under 14, and it took me 3 days to get over that. I kid you not. Absolutely. I thought, did a bit of biking, thought it's good enough. Clearly don't use that.
14-year-olds move a lot quicker than
yeah, anyway, so yeah, that was my contribution to the community. Sticking my hand up.
Basically putting your body on the line for the community.
Absolutely, that's exactly what I thought. I just put it out there.
Associate referees have appointed a lot of tries from the 22 metres.
Exactly. Well, actually, funny, I said to the two coaches, I said, what I need is a confident person on each sideline, but so if I can't keep up with play, I can just say, well, was that a try? So, was that a try? Yeah. So I was refereeing after. Anyway, yeah. No.
Thank you, everybody. I think there's quite a common theme around the concerns about reform and the voice of the community boards in that process. So I'll move that the members' reports be received. Martin will second. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Right. Governance reports. I was just going to note that Juniper Close, that is looking really nice. The artwork that they did there.
Yeah, tell me, I looked at the pictures. Is it one side and one?
No, it's the whole thing.
Whole thing.
It's the whole thing round, is it? Yeah, they just showed one side and one.
Yeah, that's
front,
it's
I thought
Before, I think, before and after, yeah.
half it.
Yeah, it looks really good.
David, do you want to give a quick update on contract and everything, where things are at with Kaimanahoiha?
Yeah,
Since
we just got a building consent in with us, so I guess we could get that approved and be underway. But the contract, which you might have seen in the media release, was at Fulton Hogan to finish off the viewing deck and put the final bit of artwork in and things like that. So we just had one question come back, which was really around being in a flood zone. We could mitigate that. Currently, the engineer and then.
Features were on budget.
Well, just
know.
just because we aren't going to complete project, we won't use all of the budget, so,
Yeah.
can't remember. About 500,000 left in the balance. This is 300, I think, as part of the project, so, yeah, if we're finishing off, it'll be a project, what's not used with.
If they complete the phase 2.
Oh, the phase that we've done now? Yes, no, that's completed, yeah. So
I was thinking more about the deep, like the, the.
So that's
No, it's all gone now.
These guys,
we actually can get it.
Yeah, that was probably 6 months ago or something. Maybe not.
Not quite this year, but earlier this year it was.
So the tender's gone out, hasn't it? But it's the tender's out,
It's done.
but for back end, they've got it.
Yes.
So works that shortly then.
Yeah, there's a couple of machines on site now, just through, and then they'll do the viewing deck once we've got building away.
Are there any other questions around that governance report? Somebody happy to move that we receive the report?
Yeah.
Tony and Jim, all in favour?
Yeah.
Against? Carried. Right, so our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, the 28th of July. So we look forward to seeing everybody piling in from the public and hopefully some more Vincent ward councillors. Thank you very much for coming along, Andrew.
Thank you.
Right, I'll now move that we exclude the public under the. What are we using? The Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987. Seconder? Tony, all in favour? Against? Carried.